Okay, we're up to that Sadik Zayin Amid Aleph. Sadik Zayin Amid Aleph. We're discussing that women, they get mizonos as long as they don't go ahead and collect the ksuba. If they collect the ksuba, they don't get the mizonos. So let's say they could sell their field for the mizonos. If not getting, again, the field we said is meshubed for mizonos. In other words, not they collect from the field. So let's say a woman would want to sell a field. Here's the problem. Mizonos is a monetary, is money. So what? She's going to sell mizonos for 10 years. Maybe she won't go ahead and be an almana for 10 years. She only gets mizonos as long as she's not collecting a ksuba. So how do we determine a sale where on one hand, she can't sell for too long a period of time because she may not need it for such a long period of time, and therefore the Yisomim will be out money, versus she can't sell too little for too little period of time, because if you sell too little parcel of a land, you're not going to get your money's worth. So it's kind of like you're stuck in a hard place. So how would the sale work to maximize the amount of money she's going to get and to minimize the loss to the Yisomim? So let's see, we're Sadik Zayin Amid Aleph, and we're up to the second line. Ketzad Mocheres. So Amarav Daniel Barav Katina, Amarav Huna, Mocheres Achas L'Shneim Esach Chodesh. She sells it for 12 months. The Loikeach Mefanis Achas L'Shloshim Yoim. And Loikeach does not have to pay each month, but does what monthly. In other words, he doesn't give 12 months up front. He goes ahead, and so where I guess a 12-month period for a sale is going to get a significant sum of money. It won't be a big loss. However, the Yisayimim, the person who buys it, doesn't have to pay all at once, pays it monthly. So therefore, let's say in the middle of a 12-month period, she tries to get married to somebody else, and she's collecting ksuba, so you'll stop it at 6. So this seems to be a very, very good compromise of her getting her money and not at the loss of the Yisayimim. So that's the opinion of Rav Huna, 12:6. Rav Yehuda Omer Mecheres the Shisha Chadashim L'Keach Mefanis Ech L'Shleishim. I said 12:6. I meant 12 in a month. So Rav Yehuda on the other hand says you sell it for 6 months, not 12 months, and he agrees that that the L'Keach only has to pay on a monthly stipend, monthly, but not more than that. Tiny Kvasi Rav Huna that it's 12 and 12. Mecheres L'Shnei Esach Chodesh L'Keach Mefanis Achas L'Shleishim Yoim. Tiny Kvasi Rabbi Yehuda, we have a brisa that substantiates Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Mecheres l'shisa chadashim v'lekeach mefarnes achas l'shleishim yom, and therefore, so you'd have 12 according to Rav Huna, 6 months according to Rabbi Yehuda. Amar mei hilchos mecheres l'shisa chadashim v'lekeach mefarnes achas l'shleishim yom. Amar says the halach is in conjunction Rabbi Yehuda that the sale is for a 6-month period and it's paid on a monthly basis. Amar Vashi lameimar the Rav Huna mai. What about Rav Huna who said 12 months? So maybe said to Rav Ashi Shmili, I didn't hear it, meaning claim our life severely. I don't agree with Rav Huna. It's 12 months. I agree with Rav Yehuda's 6 months. Okay, okay, guys. She sells. This is a very interesting shaila. She sells her field, right? She's selling for mizonos, good, and she sells it with achrayas, good. She sells it with achrayas. So now. Mahu, Mecheres the mizonos. She sells a field for mizonos. Mahu shetachse v'tzitra of the ksuba. Can she go ahead and reclaim the field that she sold there for ksuba? In other words, this field that sold has a lien on it. There's a lien on it. In other words, this field the lien on the field was her. She's the lien on the field. Why? Because it's meshubah to ksuba. So she sells the field for a mezainis, then she wants to collect the ksuba. The Yisayimim have no money to pay the ksuba. Can now she go ahead and be toirif and rip away from the lekeach the field that she sold? You hear this is a convoluted case, guys. Here, one more time. We know that the chasim are meshubit for the ksuba, correct? We know mezainis is not meshubit. You collect from a karka, but there's no shibudim on mezainis. That we do know. But we do know the ksuba, there is a shiba, there's a lien on it. So now, She goes ahead, she sells the field for a mezainis, right? Beautiful. Now she decides, okay, I want to collect my ksuba, I want to end my relationship with the assignment, I want to free myself. She goes to the assignment, and there's nothing there. So what does she have? She has the field that what she sold to the Lakuchas. Can she go back and take it away? It seems like it's interesting. Boy, talk about a guy who's in a tough place, right? Okay, now says the Gemara, Ki boy luhu kid Rav Yosef. This shaila is a shaila according to Rav Yosef. Dam Rav Yosef, Armalta, an almana. Almata is Aramaic for almana. The Zovin who goes ahead and sells a field. If there's a lien on the field and someone's going to take away the field, achrayas yasme, the assignment have to make it up. She does the sale, but the assignment, the estate, has to go ahead and make it up. In other words, the achrayas, they're going to come back to the assignment, they have to make it up. Ubeidina the Zavin, if Bezdin goes ahead and sells for mezainis, for whatever reason, we'll see later on, and Daf Kuf, achrayas ayasme. It's also on the assignment. Now, according to Rav Yosef, who says the achrayas on the assignment, here's the following shaila. My kibin the achrayas ayasme, since the achrayas are on the assignment, so Tarfa, she would take it away from the Lekeach, and then the Lekeach will go back to the assignment to collect. Again, it's sold the achrayas. So she would go ahead, collect the field, and now they would come back and collect the field from the assignment. Dilma Matzi Amarle, the Lekeach can say to the woman, Nihida achrayas the alma kabilis ilavach, achrayas the nafshach mila kibul kabilis. In other words, since it seems to be, I'm not exactly sure how to touch these words, but it seems to be that how can you expect us to go ahead and give you the field that when you just sold it to us? In other words, it doesn't make any sense. In other words, if you go tired from the assignment, but where achrayas was the alma, achrayas wasn't from you. It wasn't from you. What's the din? So Amalei. So he said to him again. The shaila was asked from Rav Sheshes. Rav Sheshes said, "Tinisua, moicheres v'oileches." She's able to sell her. She's able to sell her field from Mizonos. How much could she sell? Ad kadei ksubasa, up until a ksuba. She could sell the field up until the ksuba. In other words, not more than that. V'samach lei, and she be samich shetigva ksubasa min ashar, and she'll collect the ksuba from whatever is left. In other words, let's say she needs mezainis is $100, and she's got a ksuba for $500. She could sell up to what? Up to $499, whatever it is. She can't go ahead and sell everything, and she can collect from whatever remains. Mashma, she can't collect from what she sold. We want to bring a raya. Says the Gemara, what's the diak? Min ashar, right? Shmamina, shear in. She can collect the ksuba only what she left over. Loy shear, but she didn't leave over anything. Loy. So you can't go ahead and collect from what? From the field that you sold. Where could you collect ksuba? Only what remained by the what? By the assignment. But if you sold the field to Lekeach for your mezainos, you cannot go ahead. So let's be pushed to the shaila that in fact the achrayas is only for the alma. It's not for the achrayas that this person bought the field wasn't from the woman herself. You can only collect from what you have to leave over. You can't collect from what you sold. So let's be pushed to the shaila. Says the Gemara, "V'dilma eitzah toiva kamash malan." Again, maybe they just give an eitzah toiva, but that what the likri laha hatronisa. Now, be'emes really what you could go ahead and collect. But we're worried about an eitzah toiva. In other words, this woman wants to make herself as attractive as possible, excuse the pun, to get to remarry. Good. We spoke about that she should not go ahead. She should delineate in her ksuba where she's selling it for ksuba, and mezainis that she shouldn't appear like a Rav Nusa. She shouldn't appear like a glutton because people, the shmur is going to go out. Stam, you sell a field. She's selling why? Because she has to eat. So therefore, eitzah toiva, go ahead and delineate. This is ksuba, this is mezainis, so you won't go out a baskol that you are a woman who's a glutton. So over here, maybe in fact she could collect from the person she sold the mezainis to. And the reason we tell her not to is what? Is because you're going to appear like a person that doesn't keep a word. So therefore, it's an eitzah toiva, but in fact you're able to kill. So no, it can't be paisha to shaila from here. You can't be paisha shaila. MS, you could collect from what you sold to mezainis to the lekeach. But the reason you don't is that you don't want to go have an eitzah toiva that shame should not go out that you don't keep your word. Says the Gemara. 1 second. How can you say that in Cain? If that's Eitz Toiva, listening goyva Kesuvos in Ashar. My somachle. Why do you have to say she can be soimich on that? In other words, just said you can collect the ksuba from the rest. My somachle. And Elohim says somachle means that's the only place you can collect from. Shmamino shiora in shirilo. You can be patient to shaila that the woman who sells a field from his Zionist, in fact, cannot go ahead and collect it for ksuba. Right? Cannot go ahead and collect it for ksuba. Iboilu. Now we're leaving ksubis, and we're just speaking the Choshen Mishpat general. We're leaving the ksubis. We're speaking now in general. Iboilu. Zovin v'loyitzrichule zuze. You sell it and then you don't need the money. Let's see Rashi, guys. What's the case? Rashi tells us, Zovin, you sell v'loyitzrichule zuze. Macha sedeu, you sell a field. V'anu yoidim shahaya chafetz liknei sada ploni. We know he wanted to go ahead and buy another field, a pragmatia plainis, a certain cargo, but with that money. Why? So let's say you have you have a piece of land in Brooklyn, and you want to buy a piece of land in Tom's River, hypothetically that people would do such a thing, right? You go ahead, you sell your house in Brooklyn to buy, and then the person in Tom's River goes ahead and says, I'm not selling it. In that situation, can you go ahead and renege on the sale? Can you renege on the guys? It's important the mitzias. In other words, the person when you went ahead and sold it, right? You sold it with the knowledge that you're going to buy in Tom's River, and then lo and behold, after the sale, it erupted that you don't need the money anymore. Can you go back on the deal? Right? Says the Gemara. Hadasvini, can you go back on the sale? It's a very, 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 very prominent shaila. It's a good shaila. Tashma, the who gavra, there was this person, the Zovin Arel Rav Papa, he sold the field to Rav Papa, the Tzrichle Zuzi, because he needed money. Lemizvin Ture, to buy an axe. He sold the field because he had to buy an axe. L'soifle Tzrichle, and he didn't need to buy the axe, for whatever reason. Maybe the person, in Rashi's Mitzias, the person didn't want to sell him the axe, right? Right, Rav Papa and Rav Papa gave him back. So l'chayra we could be pushed the shaila from Rav Papa's action that if you sold the field on one idea and that idea is no longer there, then in a chinami you can go back on the deal. You could say that. It says where Rav Papa l'fnei mishur sadinhu. Maybe you don't have a raya of it. Because maybe Rav Papa he went what up and above board. Hashma. Let's be pushed the shaila from this case. The hahu b'tzurasa the havi bernadoi. There was a tzurasa. Rashi says yoiker haba b'sha'arim pisom. There was a sudden of inflation price. Yoiker means it goes up. Sha'arim is the price. So in the shar there was a wheat. We're going to see it speaking about wheat. All of a sudden, have you tried to buy eggs lately, guys? What the price of eggs is? It's crazy, right? It went skyrocketed. Eggs. I think it was a bird flu, so the price of eggs skyrocketed. So this wheat. It skyrocketed. All of a sudden, it skyrocketed, and people had to eat. So what do? So each person sold their mansion. A panayu is a mansion. In the end, lo and behold, a cargo ship showed up with a ton of what? A ton of wheat. So l'chayra amalu Rav Nachman dinahu dahadre apadne l'marayu. Right. So right there, go ahead and return the money. So it's replaced the shaila that if you sold it on one smack that you don't have wheat, and then now you don't need the wheat anymore, let's go back on the deal. Says Hasam no. Hasam nami zvina b'tois habe. There was a zvina b'tois. The gloi milsa, the arba be'akuli havikaime. The boat was it's on the sides of the river. We'll see Rashi in a second. Okay? Meaning, my shaila is when you went ahead and at the time you sold it, the sale was kosher b'yosha. Everything was great. So, in the case, the ox was alive, it was there, you sold it, and now the person reneged. You went ahead, you wanted to buy a house in Tom River, you sold it, and the person reneged after the deal. What happens if at the time of the deal, when you made the deal, it was corrupt already? It wasn't right. At the time of the deal, it was corrupt. In other words, you sold your house thinking that there's no chita left in who knows where it's going to come from. I won't have wheat for who knows how long. Had you known that a day or two away there was a boatload of wheat, you never would have sold your house. So therefore, it's a mekach tois. You can't be pushed the shayla in that case. In that case, you hear? In that case, Mishas Ma'asav L'kicha, there was a problem. Okay, let's see Rashi inside. Let's see how Rashi learns. So they went ahead, they sold their houses to buy wheat. Let's do Rashi. The Arba Bakuli Havikaine. Shal Yidei Shegodl Hanar, the river became, it rose up, it was very, very high. Chutzruchu Hasfinois Loleches Al Kalkulois, they had to go to the side. Again, I'm not an expert in sailing, but it seems that to be in the river, in the middle of the river, was dangerous. You had to go on the side, which would be what less. It would be much more difficult to go straight. If the people who sold the houses would have known that the boat was coming in late, they never would have sold their houses. And therefore, at the time of the sale, it was a mistake. When the mechira wasn't metois, when you sold in Brooklyn to buy in Tom's River, the people would have changed their mind. The people in Tom's River would have reneged on the deal. After the sale, or they didn't leave their place. The people are selling, right? Therefore, that's my shaila. That's the shaila. Guys, so you hear the difference why you can't be punished from this case. The whole shaila over here is the sale. Everything was up and above board, and after the sale, that's when the problem arose. Versus the time of the sale was good for a mekach tois. It was a mistake. I didn't make a mistake, so I didn't know such a thing. Okay, says the Gemara Vaita. So you can't be punished from there. Ihachi says the Gemara. You can tell me that this person is going to renege on this deal. You can tell me the person to go back on the deal. Hainu do Omar le Rami bar Shmuel. That the Rami bar Shmuel said Rav Nachman in Kain Nimsa Machshilin Lasalavai. In the future, people aren't going to go ahead and anyone's going to try to sell a piece of property. No one's going to buy it because you can go back on the deal. You can go back on the deal. So why would anyone go ahead and allow this to go through? So Amalei, so he told him, to call Yuma B'tzurasa Shchicha L'chayra. Inflation is a common. So Amalei in Tzurasa B'nadoi Shchicha. It's common. So therefore, you can't be pushed the shayla from here. But what's the bottom line? V'hilchasa Zavin v'Yitzricha le'Lezuzei Hadrus V'nei. And it would push the shayla that if you go ahead and sell, you sell in Brooklyn, and the person in Tom's River then reneges on the deal, then what? Then you can go ahead and you can redo your deal in Brooklyn.
When you made it tonight,
okay, so Dovi's asking, what's the story with the Tanai over here? You have to make a Tanai, not make a Tanai. Okay, he's asking very good. So let's see a Taisus. I didn't plan on seeing this Taisus, but in the back of my mind, I said, if anyone asks, I will. So if you're angry that's something we're going to do Taisus, fellas, okay, you're going to have to deal with him. Here we go. Okay, now let's see Taisus. Zavan le'etzricha le'zuzei hadrus vina ukigain. What are we speaking about? Shegilei daitoi b'shas hamecha, that he revealed what he was thinking at the time of the sale. Damar the lizvin turei kazavan lahu. The whole reason I'm selling you this land is to buy an ox. In other words, it wasn't Vorm Shebelev. He was Megala that he's going to do that. The Shosik, because if he would have remained silent, how would he do Vorm Shebelev? You go ahead, you're selling your house to buy an ox. The guy doesn't care about that. You make a deal, the deal's done. So Ellis says, Tais is a little knech. You were Megala, you told the guy, listen, the only reason I'm selling my field is because I got to buy the ox. So therefore, in that case, where there's Gilui Das, that's when whole Shiloh arises. The Chaim Beperek based the Kedushin, Gabe Hugavra, the Zov and Nichse, Adaitel Mesik Lav the Yisrael, he sold his property for the purpose of going up there to Israel. Hasam Nami bid the Goli Daite. Now, however, V'yesh Tvarim She'ena Moyel Behem Gilui Das. Ad Sheyisna. There are times that Gilui Das does not go ahead and make a difference until you actually make a Tanai. This is your hara. For example, He's selling his clothing for the purpose of going to Eretz Yisrael. People don't sell their clothing. You don't sell the clothing on your back. There you would need a Tanai. The Gili Das does not help. So therefore, basically, there are places where you need a Tanai. and there are places where there's Gili Das, and then there's places where you don't need Gili Das. What? Let's just jump ahead. For example, look at the last line in Taisvis, the Tanya. Shahalach ben Medina Sayam, his son went overseas. V'shama shemes b'nai, he heard his son died. V'amar v'kasav kol nechasav la'acherim. He stood up and he sold all his property away. V'achkach ba b'nai, and his son shows up. Rav Shimon ben Menashe Omer, ein matnasei matana, b'yidua shem hoyu doya shem nekayim lehoyu kosev. So in other words, you have three, comes out there's three dargas, guys. There's a darga where you don't need, it's so clearly, you don't have to say a t'nai, you don't have to say gilidas, nothing. That's clear from the action that what the whole reason you're doing it is because of the present condition, such as your son Loyalain, who was died, and you gave away his property. Good. Conversely, there's a level where you're going to need a tanai when it's something that's not ruggle, that even megaladas, such as selling your clothing, go up there to Yisrael, there you'd make a condition, right? And then there's a middle madrega that we're discussing now, where you'd have to be megaladas, which is what? I'm selling my land to buy an ox. So three different levels according to Taisus. Very good. Says the Mishnah. Almana, Beimina Erisin, Beimina Nesuin, Meicheres Shaloi Bebezdin. On Almana, Beimina Erisin. Now, guys, if she's selling from Erisin, clearly that's ksuba. Remember, an arusa does not get mizonis. An arusa doesn't get mizonos. So she's selling what? She's selling a ksuba. Now, Beimin and Nesuin. Now, Nesuin can mean either or. Nesuin can mean either mizonos or ksuba, right? Selling both. Now, the norm is to sell bebezdin. It makes them think more legal and proper. However, the downside of bezdin is you're subject to their docket. You're subject to when they're available. So if you need funds quickly, therefore that might be problematic. So in this case, we're saying the Tanakama says, whether for ksuba or whether for mizonos, you can sell it shlo bebezdin. Rav Shimon Omer min anesuin moicheres shlo bebezdin. Min anesuin you could sell shlo bebezdin. Min aerisin leitimcher ela bebezdin. Min aerisin you can't go ahead and sell only bebezdin if they shein la mizonos. Since guys, since if you need mizonos, you can sell shlo bebezdin. You know why? Because you don't have the luxury of waiting. But an arusa does not get mizonos. It says Rav Shimon, she has to go to Bezdin. You don't have the svara of what? Of a delaying. I have to wait. Yeah, you'll wait for ksuba, you could wait. So he makes a distinction now. He makes a distinction between an arusa, and then he says lesimcha bezdin if they shein la mizonos, and then it says v'chol shein la mizonos lesimcha ela bezdin. It seems to be redundant. Okay, what's the sheet of the Tanakama? Let's go back. Almana beimina erisin beimina nesuin meicheres shalei bebezdin. So whether an arusa or an asua can sell shlei bebezdin. So meaning you're going to allow an arusa to go ahead and sell haksuba shlei bebezdin. You're going against the norm. The norm should be that you'd have to go to bezdin. Mizonos, we can understand why you sell. Nesua, we can understand, right? Because in Nesua, if she's selling from Mizonos, she has to eat. And therefore, you don't have time to wait for bezdin. Masha'en came for the ksuba, which is not so dachuf, right? So the reason the Tanakama, Reb Shimon disagrees. He says you can't sell an arusa shlei bebezdin. Says the Tanakama you could. So now we're going to delve into the sheet of the Tanakama. Why can arusa go ahead and sell shlei bebezdin? Go against the norm. Okay, says the Gemara. Bishleim min anasuin. It's very good that you could sell shlei bebezdin min anasuin mishum amibeis. Well, because of what? Because of mizonos. And mizonos again, you're worried about the time frame. Element of erisin. But from Erisin, my timer, by Erisin, what's the reason that what? What's the reason that you're allowed to sell shlei bebezdin? Again, the norm should be you should sell in bezdin. So Ama'ula mishum china, because of china. We had earlier, we want to go ahead and make a woman want to get married. We want to make it as much as possible for her to get married. If she knows that if she needs ksuba or to sell, and she could sell the shlei bebezdin, it's going to make her much more desirable for her desire to marry. It's going to make her, we had this early in the Masechta that we want to make a woman want to get married, even though we said a woman doesn't want to get married with afal pikein, even though tav lemesav all the Torah. The bottom line is, we said that we saw the Gemara, they were getting old, right? They weren't married. They weren't getting married. So they came up with a Kesuvos bottom dichrin, right? Came up with a Kesuvos bottom dichrin to go ahead and give what? And give that the Kesuba should be inherited by the family, and to ensure that she'll get married. So that's the reason why, even though it doesn't make sense for Kesuba to be sold shlei bebezdin, mishum china, to make a desire to want to get married, we'll do it. That's the reason of Ula. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Rabbi Yochanan names are important. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Vishain Adam Loitzer Shetizvaz Ishlei bebezdin. Right? A person doesn't want that his wife should have to go to Bezdin. She's an Arusa. She's going to go to Bezdin. It's a bizoy. We spoke about the other day. Prutza. We said the 2 years, 3 years. The Prutza is not going to go show up in Bezdin. 2 years she'll show up. A Snua won't show up so quickly. So we know that it seems to be for a woman to go to Bezdin. It's a chasar in Sneas, maybe, whatever. And we're concerned about that. So we have two reasons why a woman, according to the Tanakama, who's an Arusa, who's selling a Kesuba, goes against the norm and can sell it shlei bebezdin. Either mishum china, to make her more, she would desire more to get married, or B, that she shouldn't have to have the bizayin of going to bezdin. My binaya, what would the difference be? It could be now is gerusha. Let's say she gets divorced. Notice that you can collect a Kesuba because you're an almana. You can collect Kesuba because you're gerusha. L'mandi amar mishum china, gerusha nami boychein, right? The man the mishum china to make a gerusha needs it as well. The man the lefi she'ein adam right so she's azishim bezdin, which is Rabbi Yochanan's svara. Gerusha lo yichbas lei. Gerusha, you don't care if she's mevaz in bezdin. That would be an nafkamina between Rabbi Yochanan and Ula. Like Ula, she would be able to sell it to Arusa. A gerusha from Erison, like Rabbi Yochanan, should not be able to sell it. Why? Because you don't care if she's mevaz and go to bezdin. Tanan, the gerusha lo simchar. In the next Mishnah, guys, go down. We're gonna do it today. So let's see it. You see, go down. But parallel to the Taisus, the Besula. Go up one line. It says the gerusha le simcha ela bebezdin. A gerusha should not sell ela bebezdin. Good. So now we're introducing. So gerusha should not sell ela bebezdin. Now, l'chayra, read the Gemara Kasha. Tanam the gerusha le simcha ela bebezdin. Now bishleim l'madi amal lefi shein adam right such as vazish bebezdin gerusha le yichbas lei. Right. So it's a kasha and ula from a Mishnah. Ula is an amayra. From the Mishnah it says what? A gerusha has to sell in bezdin. It's chen. A gerusha also needs chen. Kasha on ula says Reb Shimon. Who's the Tana of that Mishnah? Is Reb Shimon. Guys, Reb Shimon said in that Mishnah that what? And Arusa sells with bezdin. We're saying the din Arusa shel bezdin the Tanakama. Right? Very very important. Right? We're looking at the sheet of the Tanakama. What's the reason the Tanakama goes against the norm when you're selling a Kesuba as an Arusa because you don't get Mezainis? Why is it Shlei bebezdin? So we came up with two reasons. Now you're telling me that your Gerusha can't sell it only bebezdin? That's Rav Shimon. Rav Shimon said an Arusa can only sell the bebezdin. There's nothing to talk about, right? Says the Gemara. How many Rav Shimon? The next Mishnah is going to Rav Shimon. Fred the Gemara. Rav Shimon. If the next Mishnah is according to Rav Shimon, Hatana le Reisha. We learn in the Reisha. Mina Erisin le Simchar. Again, go back to the Mishnah. What does it say? Mina Erisin le Simchar. So we could figure it out. Why would he have to repeat it, guys? Our Mishnah says Mina Erisin le Simcha ela bebezdin. Now you're telling me a grusha, guys. Look at my hands. You're telling me in this Mishnah, the second Mishnah, a grusha can sell it only bebezdin. That's of Shimon. Rav Shimon said in the Reisha that Loy Simchar from Erisin only bebezdin. So why is he repeating himself? The answer is this is speaking about an almana and this is speaking about a gerusha. It's Rav Shimon. The Reisha is speaking about an almana and the Seif is speaking about a gerusha. And you have to tell me both. Okay, that's the teretz. Says the Gemara. Rav Shimon atani le Reisha mina Erisin le Simcha. So ma the tema almana mina Erisin hu delay nafish kein dida. Almana Erisin she never had chivas bia. The women, it doesn't seem that she didn't lose so much chain, and you don't have to worry so much. If that, in other words, if it's going to go out a norm that a woman who was never consummated the marriage has to go to court to go ahead and sell, it's not going to stop women from getting married. But a grusha who had consummated the marriage, where it's right, then it's going to go ahead and you would think that maybe perhaps you mishum china, you perhaps let her sell it shelo bebezdin. Eimeti boy chain, says the Gemara, right? Kamash Mulan. Fred, 1 second. Hanami tanina. Kol shein la mezainis. Okay, so now, okay, so we have a teretz, guys, outside. Let's go to teretz. Where's Akasha? You're telling me, according to Ula says al schein. So therefore, so if it's schein, why is the Grusha who also needs schein? Why does she have to sell it to Bezdin? Says Ula said his svara in the Tanakama. That quote that you're quoting the Mishnah is Rav Shimon. How could that be Rav Shimon? It's redundant because Rav Shimon said in the Reisha you have to go. Arusa has to be in Bezdin. Says I'm going to speak about Almana. So you would think Almana yes, Grusha not because she needs schein Kamash Malon. Now, Fred the Gemara, 1 second. If you look at the Mishnah, go back to Tzadik Zayin Amal, go back, look at the Mishnah. There's some extra words at the end of the Mishnah. It says, now what is it? Who is it speaking about? Now let's see the Gemara. Says the Gemara, Hanami Tanina, meaning you can't tell me the Seifa is Reb Shimon. I know Gerusha from the first Mishnah. What does it say in the first Mishnah? Hanami Tanina, Kol She'en La Mezainis, Lasuye Mai, Lav Lasuye Gerusha. Doesn't that come to go ahead and include a Gerusha? So guys, what are we saying? You hear both Almana and Gerusha in the Reisha. So when the Seifa says Almana, Gerusha has to go to Bezdin, it must be the Tanakama. If it's the Tanakama, then you upslug Ula because the Gerusha needs Chain, and nonetheless she still has to go to Bezdin, right? But it's mashma like Rabbi Yochanan. Okay, so one more time. Watch my fingers. It's a numbers game. Almana, Gerusha, Rav Shimon. Says the Gemara, 1 second. I don't need Gerusha. I got Gerusha Rav Shimon in the Reisha because it says Kol. So I got Almana here and Gerusha here. So you know the safer is it's going to the Tanakama. 1 second. The Tanakama is telling me you have to go to Bezdin by a Gerusha. Obviously, I should need Schein. It must be like this Vasa. And by Gerusha, you don't care anymore. It's a riot to Rabbi Yochanan and a Kasha on Ula. That's what we're holding now. What are we going to do, guys? We're going to go back. We're going to say, no. This Kol Asuye does not mean Gerusha. And therefore, it's going to go back. Rav Shimon, you're going to go back to the same teretz. Says the Gemara inside. My lav lasui gerusha says lasui mugureshes ve'ena mugureshes. A woman who had a get thrown to her. It's a suffix whether it's close to her, suffix not close to her, right? Then in that case, she would have to go to Bezdin, right? Kid Rabbi Zera. Then Rabbi Zera, Kamakum Shomer Muguresh ve'ena mugureshes. Bal chayvim mizonos. You chayvim mizonos. In this case, you wouldn't be chayvim mizonos, right? So look at Rashi. Meguresh vein megureshes umina erisin. So in other words, she was from erisin. You threw her a get. It's a suffix whether the get was in proximity of 4 amis or not. Or karav loy karav law. Ve'loy la'ashmin on deloy timcha l'ksubasa el bebezdin. And it's not coming to teach me that she has to sell bebezdin. We hear from Almana that you have to sell bebezdin. Ela agav urchash minon the mugureshes and mugureshes going zarek la gita safik karav la rishus harabim ein la mezainis min hayasaimim in mace to teach me the chiddush that there's no mezainis. So it's speaking about there's no mezainis. That's what it's teaching me. Tashma kishem. But the bottom line is Ul is held serve. It's going according to Rav Shimon. Tashma kishem shema cheres shaloi bebezdin. Kach Yarsheha and Yarshek Subasa Moichem Shlei Bezdin. Just like she sells it Shlei Bezdin, so to those who inherit her or inherit a Ksuba can sell it Shlei Bezdin. Now Bishleim and Madiam Lafi Shein Adam writes Bishizvazi Shlei Bezdin, Kiheched Iyol Nichle, Titisvaze, Yarsheha Namile Nichle, the Levaze. That a Yarshim also shouldn't have to be Zion. Elamandi Yom Mishum Chena Yarshin Mai Chen Ika. According to Yarsheha, what chen is there? What chen are we speaking about over here that you'd have to possibly go ahead and consider that they shouldn't come to Bezdin? Says the Gemara, Tirgma Ula says it's speaking about Gigoin Sheyirashta Bita Oyachaisa, that she didn't have any male heirs. She was inherited either by what? By a daughter who wasn't married, or by a sister who wasn't married, and they inherited what? The Kesuba. And they inherited Kesuba. Right, and in that case, you're also worried that that the female, if she knows in this situation have to come to court, maybe she would go ahead. So so creating a scenario of china. The scenario of china would be that if she knows that some one of her female relatives would have to come to court, that's a chsar in china. So therefore, that's how Ula would answer that. Says the Mishnah. Machra ksubasa, woman sells a ksuba, or miktsasa, or part of a ksuba. Mishkana ksubasa, she gives a ksuba as a mashkin to secure a loan, or miktsasa, or part of a ksuba. Nasta ksubasa la'achar as a present, or miktsasa, or part of it. Like simcha as a shar ela bebezdin. You only sell the shar only bebezdin. You can't sell. In other words, in this case, you would have to sell the bebezdin. The chacham ma'imim meicheres hi afilu arba chamish pamim. You could sell it 4 or 5 times. Umeicheres l'mezaynis shalei bebezdin. So there's a machloikis over here. Machloikis is over here. We're going to see that this first opinion is the opinion of Shimon. And the machloikis is if you sell party ksuba, do you lose a right to go ahead and sell your mezaynis? In other words, if she goes ahead and sells part of ksuba, she's still entitled to mezaynis. Usually mezaynis you could sell shlei bebezdin. If Shimon's chiddush is once you sell party ksuba, then mezaynis that you normally you would have been able to sell shlei bebezdin, you're gonna have to sell in bezdin. Let's see Rashi, guys. Like simcha es ashar, Rav Shimon kamala. It's Rav Shimon. The Amar ein meicheres shlei bebezdin el lemezaynis. Who says you can't sell it shlei bebezdin only lemezaynis. The zu mikiven shegavsa miktsasa. Once she collected part of ksuba, ein la mezaynis. She doesn't get mezaynis anymore. Vachimuki la begemara Reb Shimon. And we're going to set aside according to Reb Shimon. Okay, he says that Reb Shimon's of the opinion that the only thing you can sell shalei bebezdin is mezaynis. Once you collected, I think I just said it wrong. Once you collected part of your ksuba, you can't collect mezaynis. Reb Shimon says you lose your mezaynis. Reb Shimon says you lose your mezaynis. So let's go back to the Mishnah again. Machar ksubasa miktsasa, mashchem ksubasa miktsasa, nas ksubasa lacha oy miktsasa, lesimches ashar el bebezdin. The rest you can only sell bebezdin because you again. What could you sell shlei bebezdin mezaynis? But Rav Shimon's of the opinion once you collected part of it, you can't get mezaynis anymore, right? So memela it blibes like a ksuba that has to be sold in bezdin. That's Rav Shimon. The chachams they disagree. Chacham because they hold even if you collect part of it, you still what? You're still entitled to your mezaynis, right? Says look Rashi. You could sell it piecemeal 4 or 5 times, meaning different stages, parts of it. And even if you sell it piecemeal, says Rashi, you'd still be able to go ahead and sell a shlei bebezdin. So that's the machloikis between the Tanakama of Shimon. Shimon says you lose your mezaynis. The Tanakama says you don't lose your mezaynis. And since Rabbi Shimon says you lose the mezaynis, you can't sell, the rest has to be bebezdin because it's only you selling a ksuba. According to the Tanakama, you're still selling for your mezaynis, so it can be chutz lebezdin. Right? And she could sell, and when she sells it, she says the mezaynis mecharti. She should announce and say that she's selling it for her mezaynis. But a grusha should go ahead and sell it only bebezdin. Okay, let's stop over here. We'll pick it up tomorrow.